Could Chris Paul be on his way to the Los Angeles Lakers? Let's get into this. This previous season, Chris Paul and the Phoenix Suns had a very successful season. Although it didn't end the way they would have liked, overall, the way they were the season before to what they were able to do this season was a huge success and a huge improvement, and both Devin Booker and Chris Paul and everybody else on the team, but specifically Chris Paul and Devin Booker, deserve so much credit on what they were able to do for this Phoenix Suns organization this year. And after that one season with the Houston Rockets, where a lot of people thought maybe Chris Paul was starting to slow down and he wasn't as good as he used to be and maybe he would be close to retirement, or just at least not be the same player that he is now and just be more of a role guy and a role player, I think what he's proved, especially in the OKC Thunder, but also especially this past season with the Phoenix Suns, is Chris Paul is not only still a star in this league, I think he's a lot better than people even think. I think he improved a ton this season compared to seasons in the past. He has that mid-range game that he's basically had throughout his whole career, but he's so automatic with it. He's great in the pick and roll like he's always been, but he has a better understanding maybe in some senses. He always gets his teammates involved very effectively, but something that he added to his game that I think is going to prolong his career a little bit is that three-point shot. He was always okay at that three-point shot, but this season I really think that he improved that tremendously and put in a ton of work to extend his range a lot better to all the way out to that three-point line, and I think in the long run that's going to help him out significantly and not put as much wear and tear on his tires, and maybe he would be able to play longer due to that and longer in his prime, or at least as a superstar or star at this point. And I mentioned in another video that I was talking about Chris Paul that after the Phoenix Suns didn't end up winning that championship this season, was that his last season with the Suns because they weren't able to win it. If the Suns were able to win the championship this season, I don't think there would be any reports or anyone thinking that Chris Paul could potentially be leaving the Suns after only one season with them, and also it was obviously a very successful season. But the fact that they didn't win that championship, now there are some reports that maybe the Los Angeles Lakers are looking to do a little bit of a sign-in trade with Chris Paul and try to bring him in that way. And for Chris Paul, I think that would be a very good opportunity for him to actually win a championship. With the Phoenix Suns, obviously they had a great team, and I think they still do have a great team. I also made a video about that I think the Phoenix Suns young core that they have there is very good and very young, of course, and they're only going to get better over time with Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton. I also like Mikal Bridges. They have some really nice players on that team, but I don't know if necessarily they're going to win a championship within the next 2 or 3 seasons, which is really what Chris Paul's time frame is for him to still be at this point in his career at the very least. So if he were able to go to the Los Angeles Lakers, if the Lakers were able to add Chris Paul, I think that's a much better chance and much better opportunity for Chris Paul to actually win a championship there rather than stay with the Phoenix Suns and try to win there. So that's why I think this report actually does have a little bit of validity to it, even though the Phoenix Suns went to the finals in their very first year with Devin Booker and Chris Paul together. That's just my thinking on it. So first, before we talk about the potential of what the deal could actually be for the sign and trade, let's see how Chris Paul actually fits with this Lakers team and see what he does well and what he doesn't do well. So of course we all know at this point that Chris Paul's amazing in the pick and roll offense, and I think when you're talking about a guy like Anthony Davis, he's going to benefit significantly for him having Chris Paul on the team. They're going to be so lethal in the pick and roll because Chris Paul can run with him. He could pull it from that mid-range shot like we've been seeing all season this year. He can also now hit that three-point shot if they do a high screen and roll, or he can easily kick it out to Anthony Davis for a pick and pop 3 from Anthony Davis, pick and pop mid-range from Anthony Davis, or a pick and roll passing to Anthony Davis going all the way to the basket and putting either up a dunk, a hook shot, or an easy layup. Or Chris Paul can obviously just drive all the way to the basket and finish with a very crafty layup around the basket. But what Chris Paul does and what he separates himself from other point guards that play pretty effectively in the pick and roll is Chris Paul always has his eyes open to everybody on the court, not just Anthony Davis. So if one guy comes down from the corner, a defender, Chris Paul is always going to see that, and he's always going to find that wide open teammate in the corner or the wing or wherever they are, and he's going to get them a wide open three-point shot as well. That's what makes him so effective in the pick and roll and why he's the best player in the pick and roll in my opinion in the league. But also Chris Paul's obviously going to help shooters on the Lakers as well. He's always going to find that wide open guy from 3 or cutting to the basket, even not in the pick and roll, just in general. He's going to be great. For LeBron James, right now, a lot of times LeBron's playing point guard and he's handling the ball most of the time. But I think where it's going to help LeBron as well is Chris Paul would just take a lot of pressure off him by handling the ball as well in the offense. And also I think what's going to be very successful for the Lakers, if this does end up happening, is when LeBron comes out the game, the Lakers are known to struggle. So I think what the Lakers Lakers should do and what they would do if they were to get Chris Paul is they would put Chris Paul and LeBron, they would stagger their minutes. So whenever LeBron would sit down, Chris Paul would be the main ball handler on the team, and he would work very effectively with that bench unit. And when Chris Paul needs a break and needs a rest, LeBron can take over those duties. They would have two guys who are very legit pick and roll maestros and just confine their teammates very effectively. But now let's talk about a contract that Chris Paul may want to be getting because he is going to be a free agent this offseason, and then we'll talk about the sign and trade and what that could potentially look like. Not too long ago, there were reports that Chris Paul was actually going to opt out of his $44 million offer for one season with the Phoenix Suns, and he's going to look to sign a multi-year deal, probably a 3-year deal for $100 million, which is a ton for a player at his age. Now, obviously, if Chris Paul is able to play like he is playing right now for the next 3 seasons, obviously that would be worth it. But when you talk about a guy at his age at 35 years old, in the next 3 years from now, he could significantly fall off from what he is right now, so that's why it's a little bit of a risky contract. But if he were to go to the Los Angeles Lakers, straight up, the Lakers just cannot afford that. So if they were going to do a sign and trade, it would have to take a lot off that contract offer, and Chris Paul would have to take definitely a pay cut. And maybe a more realistic offer, if Chris Paul is set on that 3-year deal, is maybe something worth $70, maybe $80 million, where he would get paid more now and less later, or maybe even the opposite, just to make the contracts work. But either way, the Lakers are definitely going to have to find room and how to make money in order to get a guy like Chris Paul. But a potential sign and trade offer would potentially be maybe a guy like Kyle Kuzma. He's definitely been in trade rumors a ton over the years, and obviously he still hasn't been traded. So maybe a guy like Kyle Kuzma in a sign and trade offer may be the thing that gets this thing over the hump. Maybe they add a few picks in there too, whatever they have in the next few years. But maybe an offer like that could potentially get it done. Because when you're talking about a sign and trade, it's obviously much different than just if the Suns were just straight up going to trade him. You're obviously not going to get as much of value in return when you're doing a sign and trade. So maybe it would be something like that, like Kyle Kuzma, something centered around him. But what do you guys think? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think Chris Paul could potentially be going to the Los Angeles Lakers in the sign and trade? Or do you think Chris Paul is going to stay with the Phoenix Suns this offseason? But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did enjoy, please leave a like and subscribe and hit that post notification bell. It really helps me out a lot. Until the next time, peace out, guys.